All glories to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila Chapter 20. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Sanatana Goswami in the science of the Absolute Truth. The following summary of this chapter is given by Bhakti Vinod Thakur in his Amrita Prabha Bhasya. When Srila Sanatana Goswami was imprisoned by Nawab Hussain Shah, he received the news from Rupa Goswami that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone to Mathura. Sanatana Goswami thereafter satisfied the superintendent of the jail by sweet solicitations and bribery. After giving the jailer 7,000 gold coins, Sanatana Goswami was released. He then crossed the Ganges and fled. One of his servants, Ishana, followed him, carrying 8 gold coins. Sanatana Goswami and his servant then spent the night in a small hotel on the way to Benares. The hotel owner knew that Sanatana Goswami and his servant had 8 gold coins. He decided to kill them and take the money. Making plans in this way, the hotel owner received them as honorable guests. Sanatana Goswami, however, asked his servant how much money he had, and taking the 7 of the gold coins, Sanatana offered them to the hotel owner. Thus the owner helped them cross the hilly track and proceed toward Varanasi. On the way, Sanatana Goswami met his brother-in-law, Srikanta, at Hajipur, and Srikanta helped him after he heard about all Sanatana's troubles. Thus Sanatana Goswami finally arrived at Varanasi and stood before the door of Chandrasekhar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called him in and ordered him to change his dress so that he would look like a gentleman. For this garment, he used an old cloth of Tapana Mishras. Later, he exchanged his valuable blanket for a torn quilt. At this time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with him, and thus Sri Sanatana Goswami received knowledge of the absolute truth from Lord himself. First, they discussed the constitutional position of the living entities. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained to Sanatana Goswami how the living entity is one of Lord Krishna's energies. After this, the Lord explained the way of devotional service. While discussing the absolute truth, Sri Krishna, the Lord analyzed Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, as well as the expansions of the Lord called Svayam Rupa, Tad Ekatma, and Avesha, which are divided into various branches known as Vaibhava and Prabhava. Thus the Lord described the many forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also described the incarnations of God within the material world, incarnations such as the Purusha avatars, Manvantara avatars, Guna avatars, Shakti Avesha avatars. The Lord also discussed the divisions of Krishna's different ages, such as Balya and Poganda, and the different pastimes of the different ages. He explained how Krishna attained his permanent form when he reached youth. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained and described everything to Sanatana Goswami. Text 1. Vande Nantad Bhutai Svaryam Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhum Nichopiyat Prashadachyad Bhakti Shastra Pravartaka. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has unlimited wonderful opulences. By his mercy, even a person born as the lowest of men can spread the science of devotional service. Chapter 17. you have those separated by different chapters. Entire religion, right? Chaitanya unto the Madhava. Text 2. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 3. Eta gore sanatana ache bandi sale Shri Rupa Goshanira Patri Ailahina Kale. While Sanatan Goswami was imprisoned in Bengal, a letter arrived from Srila Rupa Goswami. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur informs us that this letter from Rupa Goswami to Sanatan Goswami is mentioned by the annotator of Udbhata Chandrika. Srila Rupa Goswami wrote a note to Sanatan Goswami from Bakla. This note indicated that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was coming to Mathura, and it stated, Yarupate Kvagata Mathura Puri Raghupate Kva Gotara Goshala Iti Vichintya Kurvsva Manastiram Nasadidam Jagad Ityabhadharaya. Where has the Mathura Puri of Yadupati gone? Where has the northern Koshala of Raghupati gone? By reflection, make the mind steady, thinking this universe is not eternal. Text 4. Patripana Sanatana Anandita Haila Yavana Rakshaka Pasa Kahite Lagila. When Sanatan Goswami received this note from Rupa Goswami, he became very pleased. He immediately went to the jail superintendent, who was a meat eater, and spoke as follows. Tumi eka jindapira mahabhagyavan kitaba Kurana shastre echeto mara jnana. Yan kitaba Kurana shastre acheto mara jnana. Sanatan Goswami told the Muslim jailkeeper, Dear sir, you are a saintly person and are very fortunate. You have full knowledge of the revealed scriptures, such as the Quran and similar books. Ekabandi chadeyadi nija dharma dekhiya Samsara hai te tare mukta karena goshana. If one releases a conditioned soul or imprisoned person according to religious principles, he himself is also released from material bondage by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. It appears from this statement that Sanatana Goswami, who was formerly a minister of the Nawab, was trying to cheat the Muslim superintendent. The jail superintendent had only an ordinary education, or practically no education, and he was certainly not supposed to be very advanced in spiritual knowledge. But just to satisfy him, Sanatana Goswami praised him as a very learned scholar of the scriptures. The jailkeeper could not deny that he was a learned scholar, because when one is elevated to an exalted position, one thinks oneself fit for that position. Sanatana Goswami was correctly explaining the effects of spiritual activity, and the jailkeeper connected his statement with his release from jail. There are innumerable conditioned souls rotting in the material world, imprisoned by Maya under the spell of sense gratification. The living entity is so entranced by the spell of Maya that in conditioned life even a pig feels satisfied. There are two kinds of covering powers exhibited by Maya. One is called Prakishpatmika and one is called Avaranatmika. When one is determined to get out of material bondage, the Prakishpatmika Shakti, the spell of diversion, impels one to remain in conditioned life fully satisfied by sense gratification. Due to the other power, Avaranatmika, a conditioned soul feels satisfied even if he is rotting in the body of a pig or a worm in stool. To release a conditioned soul from material bondage is very difficult because of the spell of Maya is so strong. Even when the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself descends to deliver conditioned souls, asking them to surrender unto him, the conditioned souls do not agree to the Lord's proposal. Therefore, Sri Sanatana Goswami said, somehow or other, if one helps another gain release from the bondage of Maya, he is certainly recognized immediately by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 18.69, Chastaman manayeshu kaschin me priya kritama bhavita na cha me tasmat anyaha priyataro bhuvi. The greatest service one can render to the Lord is to try to infuse devotional service into the heart of the conditioned soul, so that the conditioned soul may be released from conditioned life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that a Vaishnava is recognized by his preaching work, that is, by convincing the conditioned soul about his eternal position, which is explained here as Nija Dharma. It is the living entity's eternal position to serve the Lord. Therefore, to help one get released from material bondage is to awaken one to the dormant understanding that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. Jivara Svarupahai Krishnera Nityadas. This will be further explained by the Lord himself to Sanatana Goswami. Text 7. Purveyami tomhara kari yaiche upakara tumiyamachari kara pratyupakara. Sanatana Goswami continued, previously I have done much for you. Now I am in difficulty. Please return my goodwill by releasing me. Text 8. Panchasahasra mudra tumi karangi kara punya artha duilaba paribheto mara. Here are 5,000 gold coins. Please accept them. By releasing me, you will receive the results of pious activities and gain material profit as well. Thus you will profit in two ways simultaneously. Text 9. Tabesei yavana kahe suna mahashaya tumhare chadiva kintu kari raja bhaya. In this way, Sanatana Goswami convinced the jailkeeper, who replied, please hear me, my dear sir. I am willing to release you, but I am afraid of the government. Text 10 through 11. Sanatana kahe tumi nakara raja bhaya dakshina giya cheyari leuti ayhoyai tanhare kahi hosei bhaya kritche gela gangara nikata ganga dekhi janpadila. Sanatan replied, "There is no danger. The Nawab has gone to the south. If he returns, tell him that Sanatan went to pass stool near the bank of the Ganges, and that as soon as he saw the Ganges, he jumped in." Text 12. Aneka dekhila tara lagna paila dadhuka sahita dubi kahan bhahi gela. Tell him, I looked for him for a long time, but I could not find any trace of him. He jumped in with his shackles, and therefore he was drowned and washed away by the waves. 13. Kichubaya nahiyami edeshe naraba daraveshaha naami akake yaiba. There is no reason for you to be afraid, for I shall not remain in this country. I shall become a mendicant and go to the holy city of Mecca. 14. Tatapi yavanamana prashana nadikila satahajara mudratara agera sikaila. Sanatan Goswami could see that the mind of the meat eater was still not satisfied. He then stacked 7,000 gold coins before him. Lobahaila yavanera mudra dekhiya ratre ganga parakaila aduka katiya. When the meat eater saw the coins, he was attracted to them. He then agreed, and that night he cut Sanatan's shackles and let him cross the Ganges. 16. Gadadvara patachadila nareta hanyaite ratridina chaliyala patada parvate. In this way, Sanatan Goswami was released. However, he was not able to walk along the path of the fortress. Walking day and night, he finally arrived at the hilly tract of land known as Patada. Text 17. Tata eka bhumika hoya taratani gela parvata parakara ama vinati karila. After reaching Patada, he met a landholder and submissively requested him to get across that hilly tract of land. 18. Seibunara sangehaya hakte ganita gunhara kane kahe sehi jane ikata. A man who was expert in palmistry was at that time staying with the landlord. Knowing about Sanatan, he whispered the following in the landlord's ear. 19. Inharatani suvanera astamuharhoya suniya nandita buna sanatane kaya. The palmist said, "This man, Sanatan, possesses 8 gold coins." Hearing this, the landlord was very pleased and spoke the following to Sanatan Goswami. Ratreye parvata para kadiva nija lokadiya mojhana kara hatumi randhana kariya. The landlord said, "I shall get you across that hilly tract at night with my own men. Now just cook for yourself and take your lunch." 21. Etabali anadila kariya samana sanatana asitavi kaila nadishtana. Saying this, the landlord offered Sanatan grain to cook. Sanatan then went to the riverside and took his bath. 22. Bhuvi upa vase kaila randhana bhojane Raja mantri sanatana vichari lamane. Because Sanatan had been fasting for 2 days, he cooked the food and ate it. However, having formerly been a minister of the Nawab, he began to contemplate the situation. 23. Eibuna kene more samana karila itachinti sanatana ishane puchila. As a former minister for the Nawab, Sanatan could certainly understand diplomacy. He therefore thought, why is this landlord offering me such respect? Thinking in this way, he questioned his servant, whose name was Ishana. 24. Tomhara tani jani kichu dravya achaya Ishana kahe moratani sata mohara hoya. Sanatan asked his servant, Ishana, I think you have some valuable things with you. Ishana replied, yes, I have 7 gold coins. 25. Sunisana tanatari kadila bhartana Sangekene aniyacha ekala yama. Hearing this, Sanatan Goswami chastised his servant, saying, why have you brought this death knell with you? 26. Tabesehi satha mohara haslete kariya munara kache yana kahe mohara dariya. Thereupon Sanatan Goswami took the 7 gold coins in his hand and went to the landlord. Holding the gold coins before him, he spoke as follows. Eisata suvarna mohara archila amara ihalana dharma deki parvata karapara. I have these 7 gold coins with me. Please accept them. And from a religious point of view, please get me across that hilly tract of land. 28. Rajabandi Hamigada Dvarayate Napari Punyahabe Parvata Amadeha Parakari. I am a prisoner of the government, and I cannot go along the way of the ramparts. It will be very pious of you to take this money and kindly get me across the hilly tract of land. 29. Gorahasi kaheyami janiyati pahile Ashtamohara hoya tomara seva kanchale. Smiling, the landlord said, before you offered them, I already knew that there were 8 gold coins in your servant's possession. 30. Tomamari mohara la itamaji kara ratreye Malahaila kahila tumi chutilana papahoite. On this very night I would have killed you and taken your coins. It is very good that you have voluntarily offered them to me. I am now relieved from such a sinful activity. 31. Santushtaha ilana ami mohara nalaiba Punyalagi parvata toma parakari diva. I am very satisfied with your behavior. I shall not accept these gold coins, but I shall get you across that hilly tract of land simply to perform a pious activity. 32. Doshani kahi keha dravya laibe amamari amara prana rakshakara dravya angikari. Sanatan Goswami replied, if you do not accept these coins, someone else will kill me for them. It is better that you save me from the danger by accepting the coins. 33. Tabe buna goshanhira sanghechari paika dila ratreye bhana pate parvata parakaila. After the settlement was made, the landlord gave Sanatana Goswami 4 watchmen to accompany him. They went through the forest path for the whole night and thus brought him over the hilly tract of land. 34. Tabe parahana goshani puchila ishane yani sesha dravya kichu ache tomastane. After crossing the hill, Sanatana Goswami told his servant, Ishana, I think you still have some balance left from the gold coins. 35. Ishana kahe eka mohara arche aveshesha Goshani kahe mohara lana yaha tumi desha. Ishana replied, I still have 1 gold coin in my possession. Sanatana Goswami then said, take the coin and return to your home. 36. Tadhe vedaya diya goshani cha lila ekala ate karonya chindha kanta nirbhaya haila. After departing from Ishana, Sanatana Goswami began traveling alone with a water pot in his hand. Simply covered with a torn quilt, he thus lost all his anxiety. 37. Chali chali goshani tabe aila haji pure sandhya kale vasila eka udyana bitare. Walking and walking, Sanatana Goswami finally arrived at the place called Hajipur. That evening he sat down within a garden. 38. Sehi Hajipure rahe Shrikanta tara nama Goshani rabagini pati kare raja kama. In Hajipur there was a gentleman named Srikanta, who happened to be the husband of Sanatana Goswami's sister. He was engaged there in government service. 39. Tinalaksha mudra raja diyache tarastani Godhamuyalana pataya patsarastane. Srikanta had 300,000 gold coins with him, which had been given to him by the emperor for the purchase of horses. Thus Srikanta was buying horses and dispatching them to the emperor. 40. Tungi upara vasi sei goshanira dekila ratreye ekajana sange goshani pasa aila. When Srikanta was sitting in an elevated place, he could see Sanatana Goswami. That night he took a servant and went to see Sanatana Goswami. 41. Duvijana militata ista gosti kaila bandhana mokshana kata goshani sakali kaila. When they met, they had many conversations. Sanatana Goswami told him in detail about his arrest and release. Thus ends our reading for today. All glories to Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj ki jai. All glories to Om Vishnupad, Satchidananda Sri Paramahamsa Srila Satchidananda Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna.